Hi, this is Mrs. Camp with a Government Quickie. We're going to take a look at big ideas behind the American government and how different documents through history influence that government. So take a look at the first big idea here, the idea of rule of law. Laws apply to all people regardless of their position, wealth, power, or government service. If we want to rewrite that in a more everyday way of looking at it, we'd look at the idea that all people must follow the laws and the laws are enforced fairly. Okay. Next is self-government, where people choose how they will be governed, often keeping some power and limiting their government. So people choose their own government. Our country is set up that we chose our government 200 and something years ago, and then we have limited our government. But we also choose our elected officials every so often, every 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, depending on what position we're looking at. So a rewritten position there is definition is people can make decisions on how their government should work. Okay, 3 more big ideas to look at. First, which is the third, limited government. Government has limits set on it so that people hold some or all of the power, often a government with a constitution. So a rewritten definition, government's been limited in power by a constitution or written agreement. So here we have a government where people keep some of the power. Okay, not all the power is given to the government. We retain rights, we retain power, we decide our government. Okay, let's take a look now at the idea of rights. The idea that there are some freedoms the government cannot take away. The idea of inalienable rights, which is brought up during or in the Declaration of Independence that Thomas Jefferson wrote, that we have unalienable rights. The right to freedom, the right to pursuit of happiness, those are some of our inalienable rights. We are born with them, and we have simply because we are human. So a rewritten definition, set of things people believe that they should be free to do without restrictions. Finally, let's take a look at due process. Fair treatment through the normal judicial system, laws must be equally applied and people given an opportunity to defend themselves. So here we have the idea of our judicial system, people being accused and people having their own rights and being treated fairly. So if we look at the due process rewritten definition, people have the right to fair and reasonable laws, have the right to follow rules, and laws must be enforced and all people treated the same way. So, real quick review, rule of law, everyone has to follow the law. Self-government, we choose our own government. Due process, officials have to follow the rules. We have a right to fair and reasonable laws and treated the same way. Limited government, there are some limits, some rules that the government has to follow. The government cannot do just anything it wants. And rights, things that we believe that we should be able to do without restriction. The idea of our Bill of Rights, the right to free speech, the right to assembly, the right to petition, those are some of our rights that we have, and we believe we should be able to do those without restriction. So let's take a look at how those are found in the Constitution and a couple of other documents. So first, we're looking at a quote from the Constitution from Article 6. This Constitution and the laws of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. All government officials shall be bound by an oath to support this Constitution. So here we're choosing, is this going to be self-government, rule of law, due process, rights, or limited government? I'll give you a moment to think about what you think this should be. What big idea does this match? Okay, let's take a look here. We have rule of law. All people must follow the laws. Laws are enforced fairly. Here we see all government officials shall be bound. Okay, all government officials shall be bound by an oath to support this Constitution. There we see the rule of law. Next, let's take a look. This is the Bill of Rights. That guarantees certain freedoms that include the freedom of speech, press, religion, right to petition the government and to bear arms, prohibition of excessive bail or fines, or cruel and unusual punishment for crimes. So let's take a look. Is that self-government, rule of law, due process, rights, or limited government? I'll give you a moment to think about what that is. Okay, so this one is rights. Set of things that people believe they should be able to do without restrictions. If you see, this is the Bill of Rights, and these are the ideas that we just mentioned: speech, petition the government, and here added to some of our other rights that are guaranteed under the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights. Next, the U.S. Constitution created 3 branches of government. Each branch is given the power to check or limit the power of the other 2. The system of checks and balances keeps any one branch from getting too powerful. I'm going to give you a moment to think. Is that self-government, rule of law, due process, rights, or limited government? Okay, that one is limited government. If you see, each branch is given the power to check or limit the power of the other 2. Limited government, the power of government is limited by the Constitution. Each branch is limited in what it can do. So here we have, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That one kind of gives it away in itself. Okay, yes, this is due process. People have the right to fair and reasonable laws. Officials have to follow rules when enforcing the laws. Everyone has to be treated the same way. Okay, if you see, due process of law, we cannot be deprived of life, liberty, or property without that. Finally, we the people, this is the preamble to the Constitution, we the people of the United States do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Is that self-government, rule of law, due process, rights, or limited government? Give you a moment to think about that. Okay, so that one is self-government. If you see, we the people, that's how our Constitution starts. We the people establish this Constitution. We choose our government. We create our own government. Self-government, popular or representative system where people create and run their own government. So that's your Mrs. Camp Government Quickie. Big ideas that go into the Constitution.